Lentil by Robert McCloskey. Published by Viking Press, New York. Copyright 1940. Hi, boys and girls. Sorry, I'm a little rusty. I haven't had this harmonica out in, maybe over a year. But I thought I would play it for you because of this book called Lentil by Robert McCloskey. It is an old favorite. It's been around for a long time, even older than I am. But it's about a boy who wants to play music so badly. But he can't sing. He tries playing the piano, does not go very well. But he finally finds something that he can play. And it's something that's not very expensive. He buys a harmonica. And even if you have never had music lessons, you can make your own music. Maybe you can't play a song right away, but you will be able to play notes. So this is what he does to save the day, I guess you'd say, in this story. I hope you'll enjoy it. Lentil by Robert McCloskey. Published by Viking Press, New York. Copyright 1940. In the town of Alto, Ohio, there lived a boy named Lentil. Lentil had a happy life except for one thing. He wanted to sing, but he could not. It was most embarrassing because, when he opened his mouth to try, only strange sounds came out. And he couldn't even whistle because he couldn't pucker his lips. But he did want to make music, so he saved up enough pennies to buy a harmonica. Lentil was proud of his new harmonica, and he decided he would become an expert. So he played a lot, whenever and wherever he could. Now his favorite place to practice was in the bathtub. Because there the tone was improved 100%. He used to play almost all the way to school, down Vine Street, to the corner of Main, past the finest house in Alto, which belonged to the great Colonel Carter. Then he would go past the drugstore, the barber shop, and the Alto Library, which was a gift of the great Colonel Carter. He would go by the Methodist Church, through the Carter Memorial Park, and around the Soldiers and Sailors Monument that Colonel Carter had built there. Then Lentil would stuff his harmonica into his pocket, and he'd take a shortcut up the alley behind the hardware store so he would not be late for school. People would smile, and they would always wave hello to Lentil as he walked down the street, because everyone in Alto liked Lentil's music. That is, everybody but Old Sneap. Old Sneap didn't like much of anything or anybody. He just sat on a park bench and whittled and grumbled. One day, the news got around that the great Colonel Carter, who had been away for 2 years, was coming home. People began to plan a grand welcome. But when old Sneap heard the news, he just said, "Humph! We was boys together. He ain't a mite better than you or me, and he needs taking down a peg or two." Sneap just kept right on whittling. But everybody else kept right on planning. Colonel Carter, well, he was the town's most important citizen. So the people hung out flags. They decorated the streets. The mayor prepared a speech. The alto brass band put on their new uniforms, and the printer, the grocer, the plumber, the minister, the barber, the druggist, the ice cream man, the school teachers, the housewives and their husbands, and yes, their children, yes, the whole town. The whole town went to the station to welcome Colonel Carter. The train pulled in. The musicians in the band were waiting for the leader to signal them to play. The leader was waiting for the mayor to nod to him to start the band. And the mayor was waiting for Colonel Carter to step from his private car. All the people held their breath and they waited. But then there was a very wet sound from up above. There sat old Sneap, and he was sucking on a lemon. Old Sneap knew that when the musicians looked at him, their mouths would pucker up, so they would not be able to play their horns. The whole band, they looked up at old Sneap. The mayor gave the signal to play, but the cornetist couldn't play his cornet. The piccolo player couldn't play his piccolo. The trombone player couldn't play his trombone, and the tuba player could not even play his tuba because their lips were all puckered up. They couldn't play a single note. The musicians just stood there, holding their instruments and looking up at Sneap sucking on the lemon. The leader looked helpless. The people were too surprised to move or say a thing. And the mayor wrung his hands and wore a look that said, "Can somebody do something, please?" As Colonel Carter stepped from his car, the only sound was the noise of Sneap's lemon. Swish. Clouds began to gather on the colonel's brow, and he said, in an indignant sort of way. Of course, Lentil's lips were not puckered, and he knew something had to be done. So he took out his harmonica, and he started to play "Coming Round the Mountain When She Comes." When Lentil began to play the second chorus, Colonel Carter, he even smiled. Then he let out a loud chuckle, and he began to sing, "She'll be driving 6 white horses when she comes." Then everybody sang, and they all marched down Main Street behind the Colonel's car. Lentil, he rode with the Colonel, who took a turn at the harmonica when Lentil's wind began to give out. Now he said he hadn't played one since he was a boy, but he did very well, considering. They marched to the Colonel's house and paraded through the gate and onto the front lawn. The mayor's committee served ice cream cones to all the citizens, and Colonel Carter made a speech saying how happy he was about such a fine welcome and how happy he was to be home again. And when he said that he was going to build a new hospital for the town of Alto, everybody was happy, even old Sneap. So, you never can tell what will happen when you learn to play the harmonica.